So, Jeff, I know you know this. We're on a new platform. There's a reason we went to this new platform, and we had a little bit of a mishap, but we're glad to say that we're able to get our video back. And I'll let you mention that here in just a second, who our guest is coming up. But if it looks a little bit out of sequence, because we're on the old, it was like, wait a minute, I thought they were doing new platform
Yep.
stuff. That is
Back and forth.
correct.
Yeah.
But, who was our guest
Yeah.
that was coming up?
So this episode is a long time in coming. We have John Smibert for you today, and we were anxious to talk to him. We were able to interview him, and then because of the platform snafu, we were in limbo for a while. And so we're happy to be using Riverside today, but you're getting a flashback to the EV Mux days. So hope you enjoyed the video.
Yep. All right, let's roll it. The majority of our audience, probably 95%, maybe even a little bit higher than that, are going to know exactly who you are, John. But for that few select that don't, give us an introduction of yourself and why we have you on the BTI podcast today.
Well, I'm John Smibert. Our family operated North Star Ice Limited in London, Ontario, Canada for 68 years. And we started out in the packaged ice industry. We really never did the big blocks. So we started out with a 400-pound cold draft ice machine and grew it to 135 tons of turbo production in that time. And my pleasure to have a chat about the ice industry and how it affected our lives.
Yeah.
Great. What was the max, or about how many companies or how many customers did you guys serve, at your peak?
Well, at the end, we were servicing about 1,500 accounts in about a 75-mile radius of London. So,
okay,
little over 1 million people in that area.
Fantastic,
cool.
Fantastic. Jeff, why don't you introduce our guest?
Yeah, so our guest today is John Smibert, as he said. He is a Canadian Iceman from London, Ontario. His family's, as he said, run North Star Ice for 68 years. They started in the 50s and sold out to Arctic Glacier Ice in 2022. And as many business owners find out, sometimes the word retirement doesn't really fit. And so today we might talk about what John is busy with today. He's still involved in other businesses and projects, and he's also still very active in the ice associations. He's very involved in the IPIA board system and the Canadian Association. So we'll talk about all those things today. John, I wanted to ask you, what's your earliest memory of the ice business?
Well, basically, Dad got that machine in 1954, and of course, I was born in 54, so it probably was early 60s when I started going up to the plant, and we used to bag ice by hand. And at that time, I think we had maybe two 400-pound heads on one bin with an extension, and we'd bag about 40 bags and put it on a cart and wheel it into the freezer room and then come back and bag another 40 bags. It was very, very labor intensive at that time. And that's kind of my first remembering that. Dad did all the bagging at that time, and I'd take the bags and put it on the cart and we'd wheel it in. So that was a different time. It's I don't know if you'd do that today or not, but and it grew. We got up to I guess 3 bins with 3 bin extensions, and we had 2 heads on each bin. So we were packaging a fair amount of ice by hand, and that was probably the early 60s. And then around I gotta think now. I guess almost 10 years we did that, and then the early 70s we put in one bagger. We put a bin in the freezer room and one bagger, and we put augers in and moved the ice into the freezer room and packaged in on an automatic bagger. And that was, boy, that was a huge change for us, going from hand bagging to automatic bagging. That was pretty neat.
Yeah, you were reminding me how back then it wasn't plastic bags, right? So
Well, yes, the small bag was plastic.
oh,
It wasn't a very good plastic bag, but it was plastic. The big bag for the restaurants and the special events was a paper bag, and
mhm.
that was a challenge to package that. We were fortunate we had a gentleman start working for us that had worked for the old Sarnia Ice Company that really did our whole area, and it was a big block plant. And they kind of went defunct, and we picked him up as the driver, and he filled us in on a lot of those little details to get us going. So it was a good relationship. He worked for us another 21 years after that, so it was good.
Ethan, did you want to?
No, we'll
Take,
get to that. Yeah,
okay.
we'll get to that in a little bit. When you talked about selling the ice business, that was back in 22. As far as selling it, what do you miss about running an ice business, or do you miss it?
Oh well, I definitely miss it. There's no doubt about that. It's in my blood. That's why I still belong to the IPIA and go to the meetings and conventions. It's my second family, if you want to call it that. But no, I had mixed feelings. Very very bittersweet in selling it, but COVID hit us, and my crew that really got me through COVID. My 9 guys, they came to me in the spring of 22, and I'd been working hard on trying to get some new blood for the next summer, all winter, and wasn't able to get new people. Nobody wanted to work. We'd raised the hourly rate quite a bit, actually almost $5 more an hour from 2021 to 2022, and it did not attract one application. And
Well, it's very hard to work remote if you're delivering ice, and that's after COVID. It seemed like there was such a strong push for that, right?
that's right, there was, and we had a little meeting in February, and the 9 guys were commenting that we hadn't seen any new blood, and I said, well, it's not from lack of trying. It was just a sign of the times, and they worked hard, and I think I'm the stupid one in some respects for saying this, but I worked 32 months straight without a week off.
Oh well.
So during COVID, so I understood what they were saying, and then one of the guys said, he says, maybe it's time to sell, and he says, well, I can make a couple of phone calls and see, and those guys have been with me. Well, 4 of the guys been with me 35, 40 years. So
Wow.
they were worried when my dad passed that I would sell, almost immediately. And I said, no, I have no intentions of selling. I'm good until 70, and then we'll see what happens after that. So they were happy, and they're very close to retiring too. So they were comfortable with that. But then when COVID hit, that really created that problem, and so we sold the assets of the business, and then I finally just sold the property here about a month ago. So it took
Oh, okay.
4 years. Again, the economy up here is not good for commercial property. So, but I was able to actually get a family to buy it and carry on the family tradition on that corner, which is, I think, kind of cool. So,
So,
I,
so
one other thing I wanted to ask about that was you talked about increasing the wage $5, and you had no takers, right? So obviously you're in Canada, here in the United States. when the government checks started going out, and people were getting money, it's kind of hard to compete against stay at home wage, So
Yeah.
I assume that had some to do with it.
Yeah. Well, I don't, I mean, $23 an hour for a university student to drive a truck and deliver ice for the summer is,
Pretty solid.
I think, a pretty good. But
Pretty solid, but
yeah,
still no takers. That's wow.
and of course, I had to increase all my staff that have stuck with me that much too.
Right.
Actually, above that, because they were longtime employees. So it was going to be a hit. We figured we wouldn't make a lot of money, but we keep everybody happy. But it just didn't come to fruition, unfortunately.
Right.
And I do miss the industry, without a doubt. I miss the day-to-day stuff. I mean, we had a pretty good operation running, and I miss all of the customers. And I mean, we had customers that were 40 years. We'd deliver ice to their location, and their friends. Matter of fact, when I sold, I had phone calls the next month. My cell phone lit up. What's going on? Oh my God. You've looked after us for 40 years, and that
Yeah.
type of thing. And it was time.
So one of the questions that we had planned to ask you was what you missed the most. What was your favorite thing about serving your ice customers? It sounds like just the relationship that you had with them for decades. And
Yeah, we cultivated them, over the years, and particularly the restaurant trade. It's very personal, and London has pretty good water supply. But all the outlying small towns, they're all on well, and it's hard water, it's calcium, it's iron. So a lot of the ice machines just won't work in that environment. And there were a couple of towns that, we supplied every restaurant in the town. And we kind of cultivated that because in the winter in Canada, there isn't a lot of business. So it's not high volume, but it's steady volume year round, which we cultivated, and it worked quite well for us. So I don't know how many restaurants. We were probably in the three to 400 restaurants in our area that we did.
But it's a lot easier to, if you buy property and there's a tree out there and you're like, oh, that's blocking my view. And if you're not the one who planted it, it's easy to cut that tree down. But, in the business world, when you've cultivated that tree and it's grown up and you remember planting it, it's difficult to, go out there. And we'll have to get Jeff to tell you a pruning story he has at his on a Japanese maple tree that your son went Edward Scissorhand on. So we'll have to tell a story about that one day. But I could certainly see how, you start from, not nothing, right? I mean, it's a family business, but you know the hard work that went into all of that.
Yeah. Well, again, Dad was, middle-aged when he got into the ice business. He'd been in numerous. He was an entrepreneur. I don't know how many businesses he was in, but he was in a lot. And the ice was seemed to be a good one. And he developed it, and I carried on the tradition. So so I grew up in it. So the bonding is probably a lot stronger than maybe he had. But he definitely loved the industry too. You'll see pictures maybe.
Yeah, we're definitely going to roll
with the museum. He traveled all over North America and bought stuff for the museum, and I felt sorry or bad to auction off a lot of it. I kept all of the London stuff, but I just didn't have anywhere to put it, and we auctioned it all off, and it was a lot of hard work that he put in over the years, and it's.
Well, let's take a few minutes then, and we'll share some of those pictures and just give you a chance to kind of speak to this picture here. Has so many different things in it.
Yeah, that's just one side of it. The other side was jam packed too. But this is starting at the top. Is a collection of toys in the left side. And then across the front side is a collection of ice buckets. The depression glass, the green ones, and then some of the 50s with the metal and the plastic ones. And then below that shelf, starting is all of the window cards that people use to tell the Iceman how many pounds of ice he needed to bring into the house. Saves him a trip in, and they just set it in the window, and if it said 25 pounds, they bring 25 pounds in.
The Iceman cometh.
The Iceman cometh. That's right. Then there's some pictures in the corner of Harold and some of the North Star pictures and that, and then the crescent saw, 2-man saw that they used to use cutting the ice out of the rivers and lakes. And then on the right there, you'll see there's a vertical display that has a lot of tools, ice tongs and scales, and that they used in the industry. And then I'm kind of leaning on, there's 3 ice boxes there. The round one is actually a Michigan ice box made in Kalamazoo, Michigan, round with the wood front. It was maybe an earlier or a later one, I guess. It wasn't all wood. They'd gone to some metal containers, and that was a top fill. The lid would lift off, and you put the block in there, and
okay, and then pull it out from the door.
And then the door was where you kept all your milk and drinks and that. And
so
then,
it's a separate compartment.
Yeah, there's a separate compartment, and then below is there's a wood flap there that they used to have a tray underneath. And when the block melted, there was a tube that went down the back of the ice box, and all the drippings went into the tray, and you had to, when you put a new piece of ice in, you had to dump. That was the kind of the routine, dump the water out for the next block of ice. And then the one behind, actually, that one was from Florida, actually from Tampa. That was on a trip, and that was a very unique one. That was a shipping magnet out of Tampa that he had in his men's parlor. Afterwards, you'd go for a scotch and smoke a cigar, and you'd have the shelves are behind it, and they'd have their glasses there, and
Up there. Okay.
yeah, then you can't see it, but there was a lid that you lift up, put the block in, and then there's a right by my leg. I don't know, now I'm blocking it too, but there was a brass spigot that you could drain the water out to mix your scotches with, which is kind of cool. And then the side pockets were where they kept the booze and some of the other food items. But that was a walnut one. It was gorgeous. I actually had to wire money to Florida so he could buy it.
I thought it was always the other way around. I thought I had to wire the money.
He liked his toys.
So I don't know if you got, John, you were able to watch, I don't know how many episodes it was, but we had Chuck Knowlton on.
Yes.
He has his museum.
Yeah.
I mean, did you guys ever come to any fisticuffs over a piece?
Actually, Mickey, his dad, and my dad were very, very close friends.
Yeah.
It was funny. They started with cold draft ice machines just like we did, and grew just like we did. It was rather interesting to watch. And yep, there's Dad right there. He's always a proud Iceman. Now, mind you, that's not maybe a very good picture, but he wanted to show the ice that he was producing. So
yeah, no, I think it's a cool photo.
no, party time ice and us got along quite well. As a matter of fact, I was talking to Chuck just a week or so ago, and yeah, they have a great museum. But Chuck and Dad would go to antique events together and buy stuff and bring it back for their museum and our museum. It was kind of neat, actually. But
There had to be a bidding war somewhere, though. I mean, there's got to be a story.
Yeah. There was a measuring stick, and Dad never uh, acquired it, and Mickey got there before Dad got there, and Mickey got the measuring stick. It's a measuring stick with a lever on the back of the measuring or the ruler, and it had a little foot that flipped out.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd stick it in the hole, push the button down, and the foot would flip out, and then you lift it up and see how thick the ice is. Because the ice, guys, it had to be 11 for some reason. 11 inches was the thickness that you always cut the rivers and lakes. It had to be 11 inches thick. So Mickey got it, and Dad never did find one to put in our museum. So there was one that Mickey got instead of Dad. So
there were some fists thrown, some blood. Yeah, I mean, I got you. I can infer what you're saying here. So, did you ever have to use the crescent saw? Did you?
No, we never got ice out of anywhere. We just acquired the saws up towards Ottawa, Oshawa, Kingston, along the St. Lawrence, and in those areas there's a lot of lakes, little lakes and rivers, and a lot of the farmers had small storage sheds filled with sawdust, and so when that business died, really all the tools just got thrown into a barn in the corner or something, and Dad just kept putting the word out and finding different things. The one thing with the one picture, the plow, the single plow, was a real find.
That was sitting in front of you.
Yeah. That was Smith Falls, Ontario, and it was, and it was still in the wood case that it was shipped in and everything. So. Yeah, we got the whole thing, and that was
mint in the box. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, John, I think it's time for your first icebreaker question.
Okay.
We want to know, who are the Sunshine Girls? Tell us about the Sunshine Girls.
Sunshine Girls. Where did you hear that?
Show me a picture here. So, give me just a moment.
Technical.
All right, go ahead.
Technical difficulty. There we go.
Oh, okay. Well, up here, in the wintertime, we don't get a lot of sunshine. Mm-hmm. And, Jane and Sandy before, Karen, and they always have a nice smile on their face.
Yeah.
That is right. That is right.
Call down to the IPA office. How's the Sunshine Girls doing today?
Yeah,
it made their day, and it made me feel good, because I like the sunshine, and in the wintertime you don't see much of it. So that's where it came from. I don't know. I guess we have, Florida is the Sunshine State, so I guess. But
we appreciate
that phrase.
Yeah, we appreciate them, and they're always so upbeat and positive. Yeah. The whole team, right? Yeah. Melissa, Maria, Karen, all of them.
Yep.
But when I mentioned that we were going to interview you, they said, make sure to ask about those Sunshine Girls.
Very good. Well, that's good. Appreciate it.
Yeah, jumping back over and work, there's within the last month or so, there's been some huge news in the ice industry with the purchase of Arctic by Reddy Ice. We were just curious, your thoughts on that. I assume they probably did not call and get your approval on that transaction, but you never know. So we were just curious your thoughts or your insight on that transaction.
Well, I think it was time for Arctic. I want to be politically correct, but they had lost some of the market share up here and in a few of the states, and maybe they could see the writing on the wall. I don't really know, from a financial side of it or anything, but Reddy, I think, has always done has improved over the last couple of decades. I was always impressed with Debbie when she took over. I think she did a great job with Reddy, and they retained a number of ice guys in the industry where Arctic never really retained a lot of the ice guys. They let most of them go. For what reasons I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see how they amalgamate things.
Hmm.
I know when Arctic sold the last time, there was talk of selling off the Canadian operation because they really don't make a lot of money up here in Canada because the season's so short, and whether Reddy is considering that or not, that would be I think that would be a blow to the industry in Canada. It's would create some chaos because I don't know who would have enough assets to actually buy the whole thing to operate it. If they break it up, piecemeal it, they might, be able to do that. But I
Yeah.
think overall, I think it's good for the industry. Yes.
You had referenced Debbie, which is Deb Conklin, that was the CEO there with
That's,
Reddy,
yeah.
and Lonnie Warner, which he got the prestigious #1 or top listened podcast for 2025 on with us for Breaking the Ice. So, Reddy's influence, I mean, that just goes to show you, that people are interested, with what Reddy has to say. So, no, I think you did a good job. I understand, we just wanted to know some of your thoughts on that, Jeff.
Yeah, yeah. Overall, I think it's a win-win, but
Yeah.
only time will tell.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things evolve.
They've
Uh,
got some good people. Yeah, they've retained like Brian Washnock and Bobby Pierce goes back a long way with me, and
yeah,
they've kept those people, and that's important to have that history there. How to operate the ice industry. It's a basically it's a family run business. You need that personal touch, that personal service to
yeah.
because it is so seasonal, and but again, we'll see what time.
You
So
you had referenced Bobby Pierce, so Robert Pierce, I assume who you're talking about. Every time when you were calling him, he was running the business. Did he always answer the phone? This is Robert Pierce or Bobby Pierce with American Ice. That it was all every time I talked to him, it was always, and he was emphatic. I mean, it was with American Ice. I mean,
American Ice, yeah, yeah.
he,
Him
he
and Peter both were that way, very outgoing, very positive, good guys for the industry, really. Yeah.
yeah. So
Bobby,
sorry to cut you off.
Bobby has stayed into it. Peter, I don't know where Peter ended up actually, but I used to meet Peter at a number of modern uh, supply seminars, and that he boots on the ground. He won right there for years. I'd meet him there because I was that way. I like going to those seminars and meeting the guys and working with the tools and seeing what they have to offer. It's those were good seminars. Yeah.
So, John, you have the IPIA shirt on, and
I
we
thought it
we
was yeah, the new one. I thought I'd do that. Yes.
well done. We know you're very involved in the IPIA, but you're also involved in the Canadian Association.
Yeah,
And
the Canadian has been a big part of our life, and it was funny. I just been unpacking again boxes to add to my little museum downstairs, and I know we had hosted a few conventions, and we had actually we did Dad did the 75th one. He was the kind of the side chair to the executive. But we had actually 3 conventions right here in London, Ontario, which again, our participation, we believe in the industry. We believe in the associations. Yeah, there's one that's right there. Yep.
so we're gonna we're gonna take a look at a few pictures. Some of them may be either or. They may be Canadian or IPIA, but if you
That's
want to just kind of
that's Canadian. Yeah, that's Canadian. That I think that was Long Beach actually, or Huntington Beach for the 100th. I think.
okay, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
there's the 100 years there.
yeah. Right there. Yeah,
There's one of the Sunshine Girls.
yeah.
So
There she is. Yeah, yeah. Even Charlotte's there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I wanted to ask you here, Raymond South here, left in the photo right to you, from that.
yeah,
Raymond and I struck a chord, and he's passed away,
yeah,
and him and I struck a chord mainly because, well, there's several reasons. I mean, Raymond South, my last name's Southern, so we had that commonality. But he was a good Auburn University man. So him and I loved, and still to this day love my Auburn Tigers, even though they aren't doing very well in basketball at the moment, or football for that matter. But I was curious your relationship of Raymond and what you knew of this man.
Well, I mean, he was a great supplier rep for sure. He'd do anything for the industry, and then board work. He was always there, and he used to give me a hard time because being Canadian, he said, every time I walked in the room, a darn Canadian got across the border.
That's
got
right.
across the border.
We hit it off too. Just a great individual for the industry and for the association and everything. He'd do anything for you. He was big on recruiting. Anytime he called on smaller ice companies or bigger ice companies, he said, you should get somebody on a committee, or you should join the IPIA. He was a very big promoter that way, on membership in particular. And, no, first guy. I've got a picture of him hunting the beach when we did the tour. Dan's refrigerated trailer. It was a hot day, and Dan's refrigerated trailer was kind of sitting off to the side, and I saw Raymond wander over, and he sat down in front of the trailer there on the tongue of it, and I got a picture of him doing that, and he's making that quirky face that he always made, because it was a pretty hot day, and he was. Well, he was in his 80s, and he's still participating.
Absolutely.
Whatever it took. No, another top-notch guy. Yeah.
He was so he was a rep for Keet Walking Floor, the
Right.
manufacturer. So just a great Southern gentleman, and I guess pardon the pun intended with Southern, but anyway, he was just a good dude. So I was telling Jeff when we saw this and we were going to bring this up that I just hate that we weren't doing this early enough for the podcast to have him come on as a guest. So.
Oh yeah. He could have told you some stories.
Absolutely.
You guys
looking very dapper.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You're looking very dapper here.
That was 100. Yeah. That's my good friend Bob Morris.
And you either
oh my goodness,
field goal.
We were talking about that the other day. I think that was Joe Lillis's convention at South Point in Vegas, and bowling was on the agenda. And I in my younger days, I was a pretty good bowler, and I still have my shoes and everything for bowling, gloves and everything. And so when they mentioned that they were, so I took my shoes and all my equipment with me. And it was funny when I walked in, Chris Morris and Bob and Janice and Chris had a couple of his friends. I can't remember who they were. And I walked in, and Bob saw me first. And of course, they needed a third person. Chris had the three, and Bob saw me carrying the shoes, and he said, "You're on my team." And I hate to say it, but we beat them pretty soundly. So,
well, anybody that brings their shoes to the event, it's like if you walk in with your own cue stick into
exactly
the parlor, you better have your act together. Okay, you can't bring your own bowling shoes and suck. Okay,
Where did you get that picture? That's a great picture.
absolutely. So you're talking about South Point there in Vegas. That
Yeah,
was such a good venue, all off the strip. Which I mean, I like the strip walking. I mean, it's
yeah,
entertaining in its own right. But that South Point, because it had, as I recall, not equestrian, but a good grief, rodeo area.
that's
I'm
right.
my mind for that, but
Yeah,
a bowling alley. I think it had a movie theater. I mean,
yeah.
you could go there and not leave for two
Yeah.
weeks. And
Seven good restaurants. I hate to tell you this, but that's my favorite place. When we go to Vegas, I've stayed there probably 6 or 7 times. It's
right, right. Well, South
great.
Point, if you're listening, I mean, we've never taken any advertising, but send us a check, so
Yeah,
we'll gladly cash it.
yeah,
So,
that was a good one. Yeah, yeah.
so I got a question. I'm pretty sure is this Vinny Nuzzley's?
That's Vinny Senior. Yeah,
Vinny Senior. That's what we thought. So we just had his son on the last
yeah.
episode.
Yeah,
And we got Mike Ringstaff. Who are some of these other folks?
Mary's in front of him.
yeah. Mary and Jean, and then Tommy Sadler and uh, Liz, his wife,
Oh wow. Okay.
Mike Ringstaff, and Dan Aids with the Afro.
So that is
Oh,
Dan.
okay.
We were like, we could place.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We were looking at his face and we were like, he looks so familiar, but with the costume, we couldn't figure out who it was. Okay.
Well
All right.
done. I mean, he could have went into the witness protection program and got past me on that one. So well done, Dan. So.
Yeah, yeah.
And got another photo, obviously some awards going out here. And the crescendo here, I want to know, do you still have your honorary badge and you flash it every now and then for the Mounties, or do you have badges for Mounties? I don't know. Please say.
I can't answer that, but no, I don't. That was the Halloween costume, and we went here in London, and I said, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And I walked in, and I saw the Mountie outfit, and I says, that's what has to happen. It's just yeah.
Well, that does not look like an Amazon purchase, by the way. That I mean, I'm not going to say it was a legit one because I
In the
but
picture,
it's
it
not
looks
bad.
pretty.
I mean,
No,
it looks
pretty legit.
No, it really was. It was quite well done. Yeah, yeah.
pretty good for sure.
So John, going back as we went through the pictures, we kind of shifted around a bit, but did you want to say anything else about the Canadian Ice Association? I know your father was the president for several years, I think 5 years, and then
Yeah.
you were for 14 years, I think I counted.
Unfortunately or fortunately, it's well, again, we were in that transition when Arctic moved in. Our numbers dropped, and so I just stayed on. It's not a big deal to do. So the writing every every quarter in the IPIA in the Ice World Journal is probably the biggest chore that I had. But yeah, and I enjoyed it. So but when I sold, I had to step down. So somebody had to step up. So
Yeah.
and there weren't that many. Mind you, the Canadian Association has grown a little bit over the last half a dozen years. So that made it a little easier. But yeah, when Artie came in and bought a lot of the ice companies, our membership dropped, and that's when I tried one last time to have a convention, and I can't remember what year that was. It would have been early 2000, and we had it all set up, and Pam Manuzak, one of the girls that used to hang around with the girls, Melissa and Maria, and she was helping me with it, and she phoned me on the cutoff day, and she says, well, I think we're in trouble. We only have one registrant, and we need to make a $20,000 deposit, and we didn't have $20,000 in the bank to make the deposit. So, and I said, well, that's strange. I says, I sent mine in. She said, well, you're the only one.
Oh, the last man standing.
So she said, we have to make a decision today. And I said, well, I guess we cancel, the convention. Well, the next week, everybody's yelling and screaming at me. And I said, well, you should have signed up.
Right,
I
right.
put the association into that situation. So,
Yeah.
and
So
that forced the issue for me to, I approached the IPIA to become a chapter of the IPIA. Again, a lot of flack. It's keeping our identity, and that was a long time ago. And I sat back because I know I'm still past president, but I sat back in Nashville and at the long table, and I think I accomplished that. That was a great luncheon we had with a little meeting, and there was, I think, close to 25, 30 people there, suppliers and the members, and some new members, and so I felt quite proud that it worked that well, and I hope it continues. So we've been able to maintain our identity as far as I'm concerned, and we have some money in the bank, and we've helped out. The suppliers have supported us, which I really appreciate. We really do have some loyal suppliers in our industry. I can't say enough good things about them, but that money we've done contributed to really all of the food safety studies that the IPA has done, and we're just finishing up one here in Canada, and we've been able to put some money back into the industry, and that's what it's all about. And move the industry forward, and I've seen a lot. I've been 30, I think it's 36 or 37 years on the board,
mm-hmm.
different capacities, and
Well,
and it's always been moving forward. It's always been improving. Some years was baby steps, some were bigger steps, but as long as I see progress and see improvement, and see smiles on people's faces, that's what it's all about.
yeah.
Right.
There are always changes. Reddy bought out Arctic Glacier. There's associations come and go, and I'm glad that the Canadian Association was able to turn into a chapter of the IPIA. I know there are other discussions going on where the IPIA may, allow a group to become a chapter, and
Yeah.
I think that's just the evolution of the industry, and it keeps an avenue for people to connect and network and share resources and stuff like that. And I think it's great that the Canadian companies have an option. If it were if you had just given up, that would just be simply
Exactly.
non-existent.
Yeah.
And
It's added to the industry, however small it is or however big it is. It adds to the industry, and that's these other regions. I think was invited to talk to one of them at the board meeting, I guess, and they only have a few people left, and unfortunately, the Western is gone, which they should have got on board even with a couple of people. At least that Western region is part of the IPIA. I think it's extremely important, but it was like the Ice World Journal, which came from the regional council, which is where I really started, was the regional council, and that was one of our big push. Was every region had their own little magazine or couple of pages or whatever, and of course the suppliers were trying to support that, but the suppliers can only do so much too, and we were able to form that. We did have some resistance from a couple for a couple of years, but then they finally did come on board, and the Ice World Journal is just a great magazine for the industry. Fantastic. It's I love going through it every quarter.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, want to shift over to another icebreaker. I've got a true false for you, so I need you to tell me. So, this photo that we're going to show on the screen, is this you? True or false?
It's not me. It's my blood, but it's not me.
Tell us about this. This is, by the way, at the time of this filming, Olympics just wrapped up
Yeah.
Yeah.
for 2026,
Yeah.
and
This picture is not from that.
it's not from that, but I will say my two favorite things to watch during the Winter Olympics is speed skating, and then everybody's favorite is curling, of course. So
Yeah.
we
It's
all
my
know
favorite.
that. So yeah, and I know that's big in Canada as well with curling. And there's a whole thing. I did a deep dive into curling this year about where the stones come from, the cost. Which, by the way, those costs for a whole set of stones is like $8,000 to $16,000, and they all come from one region. Again, I could geek out about that for a second. It's just super cool. I wish here in the South we had the opportunity to go curling, but anyway, we don't have that. But anyway, tell us about your son, and this is man, such a cool shot. It's
I
so
like
cool.
the next picture even better.
Yeah.
Well, Ian was always small. He was a very small baby and a small guy, and he did grow like me. I was small until grade 10, and we both grew 6 or 8 inches in grade 10, and so he wanted to play hockey, and I just couldn't put him in hockey. I said, well, let's get you skating. He did figure skating for 3 years, and at 7 years old, he came to me in his and looked up at me, and he says, well, I'm got my intermediate. The only thing I have to do is I have to dance with a girl. And he looked up at me and he says, I'm not dancing with a girl. Just that simple. And so figure skating was over. But it really it taught him the edges of the blade. He could turn both ways, backwards and frontwards. He was able to. He was a beautiful skater. So I had a Dutch friend that ran the London Speed Skating Club, and so we took him down. And the first year, he really just went out on the ice. I think it was 3 times a week, and just skated around. And they played games. All the young kids, they just play games, and he didn't compete in anything. There were a few competitions. He didn't want to do that, and then the next year we started out, and it was I don't know, first or second. Oh boy, first or second practice, and they posted. There was a meet, and he come up to me. He says, I'd like to try that. So I said, okay, well, let's go to that meet. And it was in Oshawa, and that was a special meet. We had a master skater that, how can I say, helped the speed skating with tools and skills for the blades and all of that stuff. And Paul used to skate masters, which was at the end of the meet, and Paul usually won. He was a very good speed skater, and what he did, he always donated his gold medal for that meet to one of the up and coming skaters. And our coach came to me and says, you got to stick around, for the ceremonies. Well, of course, Ian didn't really win anything. It was his first meet, but he had fun. He liked it. That's all that mattered. And I get a little emotional because this was a special moment. And so we were sitting there, and Paul got the gold, and he said, every time I win the gold, he said, I always give it to an up and coming. And
Wow.
Ian Smibert. And that was a 5-hour drive home. And Ian fell asleep in the chair beside me, and we stopped at a service center 2.5 hours in, and when I woke him up, his hand was inside his coat around. I
That's
didn't think
awesome.
anything of it. And then when we got home, he'd fallen asleep again. I mean, he was just a little guy, eight years old. I mean, and he skated the whole weekend, Saturday and Sunday. So he was whooped. And we pulled into the garage, and I woke him up, and his hand was inside his coat, holding the medal. So I always blame Paul
Yeah.
for all of the travel and all of the expenses on blades and boots and everything. But and we get a laugh out of that. But that's now Ian's a very special kid. He 21 years, and again, COVID is really ruined his chances to make his dream come true. And he's had some troubles getting through that, but it looks like he's back on track again, and that's what we wanted. So it's a great story.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
super cool to see a family, connect with their kid on something that they're passionate about.
Yeah.
I know Ethan and I both have kids that have had successes and struggles and everything with sports and other things, and we just love to see our kids succeed and grow. And so it's cool to be able to share that with you a little bit. We want to go ahead and show some other family pictures. If we could, we'll go back and look. That we were actually able to get a few pictures that really go back in time, and
Oh
we just
boy,
to let you share.
Is
So
this little Johnny?
that's little Johnny. That's right. Wow.
Well, I'm a little disappointed. I don't see, like you're not carrying any ice block up. Was it a 25,
he's
pound in the window? I mean,
No, I guess I
he's
wasn't
just
strong enough at that point. Wow, it's funny. I'd just been going through some of these pictures. I don't know. Mary must have got ahead of me or something. Somebody did.
we might have had a little sunshine help with a few of these. So we got
Lego. Oh boy.
horn rim glasses. I like it.
Yep. 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 Yep.
Are you? I didn't know you're related to Bill Gates. Is that your brother? Is that,
That's graduated from refrigeration school. It's,
uh,
yeah. Yeah.
right. If you didn't do refrigeration, go in the ice business, your dad was a huge entrepreneur. What industry would you have went into?
Well, that's a good story. When I got out of high school, of course, I worked that summer for Dad in the ice business, and I put my name out for electrical apprentice, and even the union. I even wrote the aptitude test, and never heard anything from them for well, maybe 3-4 months, and September came around, and Dad says, "Well, you got to do something." Of course, the ice business dies off at that time. That would have been what 1974, I guess, and yeah, 74. So we were still in cubers then. We had 36 of the cold draft ice machines, and he said, why don't you take the refrigeration? So I went out, signed up, and I took the 2-year program, and then got a job at our university here in the refrigeration, heating and cooling of the buildings, actually. And then I went to city heating and got my power engineering, and then Dad gave me the opportunity to buy in 1979 into the business, and so I did, and then I was full time in the ice.
I hope you kept that jacket because I think it's come back in style. The size of those lapels, I mean, that is, and I'm serious. I'm not even joking. I dig that jacket.
I know I still have that tie, but the jacket, I think that
I'm not saying the same thing about the tie. Okay, I like the Oh, I clicked on the wrong button here. All right, let's. Jeff was remarking what's behind you, but beautiful wife. And what year would you think this was?
well, actually, that wasn't my wife.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Well, there you go.
That was my
Nice.
girlfriend.
All
Yeah.
right, girlfriend. All right. Well, we got a little controversy brewing here
yeah.
today. So,
1978 when we went to Florida with mom and dad. We had the pickup camper in the back, and we had the 21-foot Prowler trailer, and we went to Florida for I guess about 10 days. So
Well,
that was a good trip. Yeah,
that's a long trip.
yeah, it was a long trip. That we actually drove it in 22 hours.
oh,
Dad and I, we split it up, and we drove right straight from London, Ontario to the Florida border in 22 hours.
I'm pretty sure that's probably exceeding the max speed on that axle for that.
Oh yeah, that was a big trailer. It was funny when we got home. Dad sold that trailer. It was too big.
he's done with it.
All right. Well, I think I'm okay to say beautiful family here, right? I'm not going to get in hot water on that one.
No, that's the gang right there. Yeah, there's mom and dad. That was actually Father's Day. Just before he passed away. Actually, we went out for dinner, and that was on the front porch. That picture of me earlier, that was right in that corner, the same porch.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Mom and dad have lived there. I still own the property still, but
Well, take a moment. I know your father's passed, and also, just pulling the veil back a little bit on the show. We had the opportunity to we were going to have you on earlier at the end of last year, but your mother just passed, so I know that that was hard on you, which anybody would be. So just anyway, our condolences to you.
appreciate it. No, they were hardworking couple. Dad was 91, mom was 94. So it's can you tell he's a hard ass from that picture?
I cannot, but most of the men and women that I've learned in the ice business, you got to have an edge to yourself and ready to do hard work, and that causes you to be a hard ass to go along with it. So,
Mom was as soft as kid gloves, and dad was as hard as a rock. And he just kept,
sorry, go back.
When we got into business together, he was always moving forward. Particularly if I took a weekend off or a week off, I'd come back and there'd be 2 more projects started.
Yeah.
I'd have to finish them, but he got them started. And there was a time when there was about 8 projects going, and I says, no more projects. I said, I'm tired of moving tools from one project to the other, and he did slow down a little bit, but that's that was our success was we kept moving forward.
Well, we're about out of time.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean we've been going solid, and Jeff and I just enjoy doing these, and next thing you know that we're out of time, but we've got 2 questions, and I'll let Jeff wrap it up here in a few minutes. But as far as something that I heard about maple syrup, that we heard that you love exporting that from your homeland, and Jeff was letting me know a little bit behind the scenes that it's gotten fairly expensive. But where do you get your supply? Tell us a little bit about this Canadian maple syrup phenomenon.
Well, we have a family-run business. We've gone out there for years. Robinson's maple syrup, just about 20, 30 minutes north of the city, and it's right in the bush, and it's great maple syrup. And of course, me being Canadian, and when I was chairman, what do you give people?
Oh, as the chairman's gift. Okay. Yeah.
It was to a very small group of people that got me through that year and got me there. It's I still am quite honored that a small Canadian guy got placed in that position, and it's very special to me. But so the sugar they make cotton candy out of maple syrup, and it's amazing. They make sugar cookies and then the maple syrup, and I bought a bunch of it, made up a bunch of packages, and sent it. And I've continued. Actually, Mary and I were talking about it just the other day that we've got to go out and get our allotment, but we have a problem this year, and I don't know how we can circumvent it. The tariffs
Oh no.
have created a problem in shipping stuff, particularly Canadian product to the U.S. and I haven't been able to solve that problem yet.
So how big is the tariff on Canadian syrup?
I'm not really sure, but it's a fair chunk of change. Actually, I was surprised at how
Well,
much.
you said something interesting to me. I did not know that they make cotton candy out of Canadian
Yeah,
maple syrup. I am. It's one of those weird things. I've never been much of a cotton candy fan, but I think maple syrup style, I would go for that. I want to give it a shot.
Well, Jeff was telling me some of the cost and the regulated industry of that, and I was just curious. I mean, if you were to try to load up a whole luggage of it, are you going to get confiscated? Are you going to get put to the side? And
that that was I shouldn't say it on video, but that was the one solution. But boy, it's
yeah,
once you're in that computer, I've crossed the border so many times, particularly mainly for the IPIA, and I got to tell you a quick story. And I've always been straightforward at the border. I don't, I play it straight. And
I think John's about to tell us he is a maple syrup mule. Is this where we're going with this?
no, I'm not going in that direction. But I pulled up one of the first, of course, with the kids. Mary couldn't come with me, so it's only been the last 10 years that she'd been able to come with me. Her very first trip, and I said, we're just going to tell it the way it is. Don't make up any stories. I mean, I joke with them. Where are you going? Well, I'm going to Big Boy, for breakfast, and stuff like that, because that's they want to know. And then we're going to go to Detroit Airport and fly wherever. And this trip, and I always say when I pull up, you hand them the passports and they scan it. And first question is, where are you going? And I said, well, I'm going to IPIA board meeting, packaged ice industry. And I learned to say packaged ice. I did first couple of times. I said, right. It's an ice meeting. Well, ice, this is a slang word for diamonds.
And another slang word or an acronym now, so it's a whole.
That got me in trouble. So I learned you got to say packaged ice once you say that. So I'm pulling up with Mary for the first time. I do the same thing. First question is, and well, he never. I didn't get to that first question. He says, "You're not going to another IPI board meeting, are you?" And I looked at Mary and I says, There it is, right there.
Mm-hmm.
They know.
Because they
like it or not.
Oh, okay.
And I looked at him. I said, "Yeah, I am." He says, "Have a great meeting." And that was, but it's all on the computer. And a lot of people don't.
If you were going back to Big Boy?
Pardon me?
He didn't ask you if you were going back to Big Boy?
No. It was a different guy. But the one guy that I said, he says, "I'm off right now." He says, I'm going there too. We beat him there when he walked in. I went up to him and I says, "Glad you could make it." And he looked at me. He says, "You were going to the Big Boy." I said, "Yeah, that's what I told you."
Well, I had a similar story. I was coming back from the Western Ice Association that was up in Vancouver area, and when my family, I had three. Small kids. They were all, under 16 at the time. And I was coming through the border trying to get back into the States. And they asked, what was your business in Canada? And I said, it was an ice convention. and I promptly got pulled, over to the side, got everything pulled out, all
Really?
luggage, the whole 9 yards. So I'm, the cold stuff, the, packaged ice, I've got to refine,
Your
how I
messaging.
state that. Yeah. So my wife tells that story from time to time as well to folks. So,
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, last question, John. We want to give you an opportunity, especially with all your years of being in the industry and everything. What advice would you give to ice companies out there in 2026?
Well, I'll repeat something that Bill Bentley told me. I was on regional council. That's how I got involved, and I saw how the IPI worked at that time. And we were kind of in transition. Regional council was being phased out, and we were at the convention. There was a couple of guys that were on regional council that I hung out with, and we were sitting at a table at the back wall, away from everybody. We're newbies, so and Bill come into the room. Bill scanned the room, saw us, and made a straight line to us. And how are things going? He says, I hear the regional council, and he says, we need you guys to get involved. We need you guys on committees. He says, you've seen how it worked at regional council, and I think it was very successful. And so my word to is get involved, support the association, and the rewards are limitless. To be honest with you, I wouldn't be where I am in the industry. Our business grew. And I think I saw Howard make this comment when you interviewed Howard, and he says, everybody's as close as the phone. I can phone anybody if I've got a problem that I can't seem to resolve.
right.
Yep.
And that's there. You can't put a price on that. It's all good stuff, all positive stuff, and that's why I've stayed where I have with the board and everything. All I see is positive stuff. Every time I go to a meeting, it's moving the industry forward. Like I said, our loyal suppliers are there supporting us, and I can't say enough good things about that too. It's just a great group of people, friends, peers, mentors. Wayne Henry. Wayne Henry started off for me the very first time that I went to the regional council meetings in Raleigh, North Carolina. Didn't know anybody. And, I walked in, and Wayne Henry and Mr. Meads and another fella, I don't ever remember seeing the other guy again, but they were all standing basically at the bar, and it was a small hotel, and I was registering, and I heard one of the guys say, he said, "That's a nice guy." And so I registered, and I'm walking towards the hallway to go down to my room, and Wayne hollers out at me and says, he says, "You an Iceman?" I said, "Yeah, I am." And so I walked over and introduced ourselves, and he said, "Well, we're just having a drink, but we're going to grab a cab and go for supper." He said, "You want to come?" And I still remember that. I remember those two names in particular were mentors of ours. I never ever met them before, and I looked down and we said, "Absolutely." And we went out for supper and just had a great evening. Matter of fact, one of my favorite desserts is vanilla ice cream with a little red wine poured over it, and that's from Wayne Henry. Wayne Henry, he said, "What are you having for dessert?" And I said, "Well, I have ice cream." He said, "Why don't you put a little red wine on it?" Because he said, "That's what I'm going to do." And I have that all the time.
Well, this is the only place that we have to disagree. I would have thought ice cream with Canadian maple syrup would have been a better answer.
Well, I mean, but and of course, him being from California, red wine, and if you and you don't need to put a lot on it, like not a half an ounce.
I'll have to try that one day.
It really complements if you get good vanilla ice cream. Sometimes the vanilla ice cream isn't that good, but
yeah, well,
it's very good.
salt with sweet. There's a reason for it.
Yeah, those mentors. I mean, I mean that was well, almost 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And, it's still vivid. I can still picture it. I don't even know what restaurant we went to, but I can picture the seat and everything, the guys sitting around it. And so it's those memories, those connections, the conversations, all of that. It's just a win-win with the IPA or your regional. The regionals are great, very social, and we miss that a little bit with the Canadian, but we still have our moment at the IPA conventions. But
yeah,
that's what it's been always been about for me.
Well, we appreciate you, John. I know you've been that guy for other people that have come after you. You're still that guy for many people today that they look up to you and feel connected because of things you've done. So
I appreciate that. But,
yeah, your ability to resonate through the ice industry, while you were in the ice, actively manufacturing ice and doing things, but it'll resonate going. Nothing strong is ever built on a weak foundation, and you're part of that foundation that other people continue to build their business on. We really appreciate your time. We appreciate the emotion that you allow to flow through yourself to really show that love that you have. It's not. Yes, it's about ice, but it's not about ice, right? It's about the relationships. It's a life's endeavor, and the core principles that you exude every day, and we appreciate that. And I know I speak for many people in the ice industry when I say that, but we're so appreciative of you taking some time coming on there onto the podcast. And we've been able to come to you from the RouteMan studios here from KCS headquarters in Pelham, Alabama. We, again, appreciate you, John. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Ethan. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Have a wonderful day.
Yep, you too.
thanks.